Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, gratefully covering alcoholic and addict just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with anybody you think might get something out of it. Other than that, happy 4th of July, everybody. What a beautiful day. God, I love a holiday. I've been exhausted. I've been working really hard lately. So realizing I was gonna, thank God I turned down that last big job so I can enjoy my long weekend. I take very, very few of these. I slept in very late this morning. I stayed in bed till almost 10:30, and I'd been mulling over the idea of going anywhere this year. Last year I went to the Cape for 4th of July. I posted a video on the beach, and I woke up this morning. I'm like, I'll probably just stick around the house and just chill. But then I get up a little while later, realized it was 95 and sunny out, and I'm like, no. I'm like, that's being lazy. Like, get your ass out of the house. Let's go do something. So I hopped in my truck and I shot up to Hampton Beach in New Hampshire. It was absolutely gorgeous out there. I spent the afternoon in Hampton Beach talking to people, checking out little shops, having a little bit of food. About 3:30, a torrential thunder shower came through. I was absolutely soaked. And I saw it coming on my phone, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. When it starts to sprinkle, I'll walk back to the truck, and it was just an instant downpour. But guys, it was awesome. The F-16s were doing flybys over the beach. Like every 20 minutes, they do it on the loop. That was absolutely amazing. And I was so happy to get out of the house. It was really nice. Further, as I was leaving the strip, absolutely soaking wet, coming out of there, I saw a fireworks store, and I'm like, oh, hey, why not? So I stopped and bought a bunch of fireworks that I'm going to light off out in the parking lot later on tonight. And just enjoy the day, man. Make the most of it. You know what I mean? As we go forward. Obviously, if I had a significant other, I would have, rented someplace and gone away. But you know what? Just because I'm alone doesn't mean I can't go out and interact with people and have a good time. And I was really happy. I went up there. I had a really good time. Even getting absolutely drenched. I was actually laughing with people because, there was mass exodus off the beach. The beach was absolutely packed. And there was so many people running through the rain, and I'm just, I'm walking down the street eating my Italian sausage. People are laughing at me. I'm like, hey, happy 4th, man. Like, whatever, dude. It's all good. Like, don't let stuff like that get you down. And I made a lot of people laugh, which was fun. Just hanging out. And then further, parking was absolutely insane. Like, the closer you got to the beach, the more expensive it was. It was like $80 to park near the beach, right? So I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I pulled into a municipal lot, and there was nowhere to park. I mean, these people made a killing with parking this weekend. But I found the nicest guy. As I pulled up behind him, realizing he was leaving, the dude jumped out of his truck, or out of his car rather, and he walked over and with a ticket in his hand. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, well, you got to have one of these. And I would have had to walk like a quarter mile out of the parking lot to get my ticket paid. And I would have paid $50 for the ticket and come back and put it on my dashboard. He's like, listen, it's an all-day pass. He's like, if you want, give me $20, you can have it. And I'm like, hell yeah. So I gave him $20. I'm like, hey, happy 4th of July, man. Thank you so much. Further, there's fireworks up there tonight. But after I was drenched, I didn't want to stick around. And I just wanted to come home and chill. So as I was leaving, somebody else was pulling in the parking lot. And I'm like, hey, let's keep it going. So I flagged him down. And guys kind of looking at me weird. I'm like, I held the ticket up. I'm like, hey, this thing's good for the day. I'm like, here you go, man. Happy 4th of July. I didn't charge him anything for it. I figured I had already gotten it, for a fraction of the price. And whatever, I didn't want to buy, whatever. I just wanted to give it to the guy. I like being nice like that. And that's fun for me today, It was a beautiful day. There was so many people up there. And the one thing I did notice is no conflicts. People were really being behaved. And that's so nice to see. And it's something I was talking about yesterday's video, watching all these, particularly I talked about in the video when Scotland first came to Boston for the World Cup. I mean, there was so many Scottish fans, and they were amazing. Like, there was some staying in the street here. I was talking to a bunch down at Harvard Square. I was talking to a bunch down at Faneuil Hall when I was down at the registry. And it's so nice when we can get together as humans and just put our differences aside and just party and have a good time. And, I'm sober, but still, partying doesn't, and that's another beautiful thing. I've come to see partying doesn't have to include drugs and alcohol, and I love that today. But anyway, the title of the reading's Conflict. I don't know if it's aptly titled for today, but, it's also still an important reading because conflicts are inevitable in life. It's how we deal with them that define us, guys. You know what I mean? Like, we can't always determine what's going to happen to us, but we can always determine the way that we're going to react to it, and that's really what defines your character. And I used to feed into conflict. So as a matter of fact, oh, it looks like the rain just caught up here. It's starting to pour outside. I used to feed into conflict so much, and I see so much now that I'm so steady in recovery because, again, not tooting my own horn, but because I applied these principles in all areas of my life, that like I'm the mediator for everybody. I'm the one person that everybody in the group gets along with. So when there's an issue, I'm the one that goes and straightens it out, and everybody's always willing to talk calmly with me, and I love that today. I'm kind of proud of myself for that. But we're going to talk about how we deal with conflict and the fact that conflict is inevitable in life. And it doesn't mean you got to feed into it and let it destroy things. Calmer heads can prevail if you work your program in any particular conflict that comes up. So anyway, conflict is the just for today any meditation. We learn that conflicts are a part of reality, and we learned new ways to resolve them instead of running away from them. From time to time, we all experience conflicts. It may be that we just can't get along with the coworker, or maybe our friends are just driving us crazy, or perhaps a partner isn't living up to our expectations. Dealing with any conflict is difficult for recovering addicts. When tempers arise, it is often a good idea to back away from the situation until cooler minds prevail. We can always return to further discussion when we have calmed down. Particularly in early recovery, we can't avoid troubling situations, but we can use time and distance to find perspective, and that's an important thing. Conflicts are a part of life. We can't go through our entire recovery without encountering disagreements or differences of opinion. Sometimes we can back away from the situations, taking time to reflect on them, but there always comes a time when conflict must be resolved. When that time comes, we take a deep breath, say a prayer, and apply the principles the program has given us: honesty, openness, responsibility, forgiveness, trust, and all the rest. We do not get clean to keep running from life, and in recovery, we do not have to run anymore. The affirmation is just for today: the principles my program has given me are sufficient to guide me through any situation. I will use them to confront conflict in a healthy way. And that's beautiful, guys. And I love the fact that, I've gotten to be pretty good at reading a room and reading people and avoiding conflict. Though, I still kind of stick to my 99-1 rule. Like 99% of the stuff people argue about, I could care less about. Like small details just don't matter to me. Like if it's not directly affecting me, my health, my safety, my recovery, like I'm not that concerned. If it comes down to somebody being picked on, somebody being bullied, then yes, I take that shit very personally, and I will step in every time. And when it comes to people's safety or the safety of the group, or you know what I mean, things of that nature. So my 1% stuff, and I'm not afraid of conflict today. I don't go looking for it, and it's funny. Like I used to run around acting like I hung out with bikers, and I learned to box when I was a kid. So throughout high school, it got to the point where like everybody wanted to do it. And it's one of those things where I was really good at it. I was always a tough kid. So inevitably somebody always wanted to come up and challenge me because they wanted to be the one that said that they were the one to beat me, and nobody ever did. But it didn't happen very often either because I was pretty wild and crazy, and people usually just decided it wasn't a very good idea. But that's not what we're talking about. What's more, my point of that was I've gotten in very few fights over the years. My conflict resolution is pretty good. I've been in some pretty dire circumstances, particularly, God, I hate talking about all the times I've been locked up in prison, but it's a great way to look at it. The way you carry yourself, like you don't have to be a victim and you don't have to be the loudest guy in the room. When you just do your thing and you don't let things bother you, and again, you stand up for yourself, but do so in a courteous, polite way. I was always pretty well respected in the prisons that I was in, without having to go click up with the gang, and I stayed out of politics, and I would just work out and do my thing. And when tensions arose, or when I had a situation where I would talk to anybody that was in the gangs, I would usually go right to the leader of the block and just, hey, what's up, man? I hear this going on. Like, what's going on? Hey, no, you're good, man. I got a lot of respect for you. I used to hear that quite a bit. We run your name. We know you've done some time. You don't bother nobody. Hey, we appreciate you. You're good. And I appreciate that today. And I look at that and I'm like, you know what? Even through all my nonsense, I had a little bit of integrity. and I had a little bit of respect from people around me. So I was never always that bad of a person. It makes sense because I look at how well I'm thriving today. But again, towards the latter part of my addiction, I tried to avoid conflict at all costs because I had so many skeletons in my closet. And the thing of it is, guys, lying, cheating, and manipulating is not avoiding conflict. It's running, it's hiding, it's lying. And that's what I did in addiction. And I don't have to do that today. Like, I get to honor my truth today. And that's been one of the most... If you want to feel good about yourself, you want to have a level of self-respect, you want to live with integrity, you define your truths, you stand for your truths, because if we stand for nothing, we fall for everything. And I'm not saying go out there and be the loudest, boisterous, person in the room, but you just get that quiet authority, the quiet just respect of just showing up every day in the same energy. And that's what I get to today. I love the fact that, and it makes a difference, guys, because you know what? When I show up as the mediator all the time, and I'm always kind, and I'm learning to place principles before personalities, which is nice, because I like anybody else in the early days, there were people I didn't like in a meeting, I just avoid them, and I wouldn't talk to them, and I see that as the chair of my Friday meeting, like, that's not an option, like, that's just because I don't like somebody, I have to respect their recovery, and recovery is the most important thing in any room to me today. So I will immediately put my differences aside, and I will be as kind as possible, and I will treat that person the same way that I will treat anybody else. And there's a small inner group of inner circle members that I will speak openly about, in the quiet when nobody's around. And I've noticed them notice the way that I'll treat the people. I was just saying, like, yeah, I don't care for that person. But during the meeting, and again, if they say something that is completely off kilter, then I'll put them in their place just like I will anybody else, but I will do so in the kindest manner. I don't have to. So many people that have insecurities want to bring up conflict and then try to win a conflict at any cost so they can feel better about themselves. And that's not recovery to me. And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. But I found a level of respect for myself in recovery and I'm not saying I know all the answers. I'm the first to admit that I'm wrong often. But I've also learned to not be the first one to speak. And that was something I was very guilty of. I would often spout my opinion just so I could seem intelligent, not realizing that it was doing the exact opposite. And I've realized how much more I learned when I just step back. And again, if it's something that is my area of expertise, then sure, I will be the first to offer advice. But if it's not my area of expertise, I don't feel the need to be the first one to spout. I'll pass it off to somebody with more experience that is more tailored for it, and then I'll listen and I will learn. So if that situation comes up again, I get the benefit of somebody else's experience. And that's one of the beauties you have to understand in recovery, guys. We have the benefit of so many other people's experience. My sponsor with 10 years, my friend Margene with 35 years, Most of my friends in recovery have more time than me, and that's something I gravitate toward. Like, I want to be in the middle of the herd. I want to be in the pack of people that have put quality, long-term recovery together, because those are the people that I can learn from. Like, if I'm sitting in the back of the room hanging out with people that come out of the halfway house, because that way I can feel good about myself, because, I'm higher up than any of you, then I'm an asshole, and I'm not going to learn anything, and I'm doing that for my ego. And that's something I would have done in the past. And you know what? I'm again, not perfect. We all have ego to a point, and I have to have some ego in my life today. But one of the things when I realized how ego-driven my life was in the beginning, I would denounce my ego to God in my prayers every day. And it's not for God, it's for me. And that's been a big part of something I've come to understand, guys. When you build your relationship with your higher power, that should be the one place that you're most honest. So when I'm talking to God, and I'm like, God, I know I'm egocentric. I don't want to be. I want to be the person that you've made me to be, the person that makes you proud. I want to do your will, not mine. I'm telling him that in honesty. And then when I walk away throughout my day and I start to do something from an ego-driven place, boom, that little voice pops on my shoulder, like, really? Is this what we were talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I take that opportunity to pivot, to change. Guys, learning to pause, learning to pivot. These are some of the most important things, not only in conflict resolution, but in life. Like, if you want, because we're not always right, guys. It's simple that, particularly coming out of addiction, we're usually pretty wrong. I know I was. I'm not calling anybody else out. I'm calling myself out. but I've managed to right that ship really well, and my life is heading in a direction I'm really, really happy with. I make a lot of really good decisions today, and it's getting easier to make those decisions. In the beginning, I had to put a lot of effort into it, but I was able to change that baseline by pausing, by playing the tape through, by being introspective, by looking at my patterns, and then changing those patterns. When I knew there was a better way to act, I focused on going out and acting in a better way. And little by little, it's starting to build up and take hold of my life. And not even starting to, but it's completely taken hold of my life. And like I talked about a couple of days ago, reliability, honesty, open-mindedness, and steady energy. These things have changed my place in every relationship and improved every relationship I have in my life. They've also been a baseline to look at some of the relationships in my life that weren't healthy and given me the courage to walk away from them. Because one of the things I promote and I say all the time is every time you remove something negative from your life, it gives you a void that you can fill with something positive. But that takes honest introspection to fill that with something positive. Like we've got to be very analytical in recovery, and particularly in the early days. And honestly, I assume all the way through. If you want the most out of life, guys, you got to put the most into it. And I'm not saying go out and even physical, but that comes into play as well. But the more work you do in prayer and meditation, the more work you do in journaling, the more whatever your form looks like, the more work you do into it, and then you internalize it and then bring it out to bear in the community, the better person you become, the better your life is going to become. Like, I love the fact that my life in recovery makes so much sense. And what isn't going the way I want to, I look at and say, is this something I need to change, or is this something I need to accept? Like, I love and I was so surprised I didn't bring this up in the end of one of the readings the other day was the meaning of the Serenity Prayer will become so astoundingly clear. And I see that today, and I was so happy when I read that, because when I see things in these readings that I can identify with, that remind me that I'm on the right track, and it make me feel good. And that's one of the main reasons I do the readings every day. And then obviously I share them on video because it's part of my, but I want to share with people, and it's a great way to have a topic every day. It's win-win all the way around. But I've come to embrace the Serenity Prayer. Like before, it was just a slogan. It was a catchphrase. No, they're action steps, they're directions, and when you live them, your life gets better. Guys, I don't suspect we're going to get a whole lot of views tonight being the 4th of July. I hope everybody's out celebrating, and I'm okay with that. I hope everybody's out having a great time. We'll see what the weather does. Eventually, I'll go light some fireworks off. But in the meantime, I'm going to cook myself a nice little dinner and continue to enjoy this beautiful day in this beautiful country and celebrate along with anybody I can. And, just want to say I'm proud of myself for starting this channel. I'm proud of all of you for being here. Any of you in recovery, I'm incredibly proud of you guys. It's not easy. I know people have told me on occasion I come on here and make it look easy. They've also not been, and my friend Andy had said it one day, and we had a little chat, and I said, giving him some of my perspective, and part of that is the level that I brought myself to. I've seen some of the worst this life has to offer. I've traveled at length in some of the lowest places on this planet, homelessness and prisons, and I've endured some amazing traumas, some serious traumas. God has kept me safe through all of that. And when you realize that, there's a level of comfort, that there's a level of letting go of fear, of understanding. I mean, not to say that I don't have healthy fear today. I don't go hang out in a drug den and expect not to get high. Like, I do absolutely avoid some things that I know aren't good for me, because I am absolutely terrified of addiction. I don't ever want to give, particularly now that I've had a taste of recovery. And I never had a taste of recovery before. I had managed to put some months together abstinent, but there is such a difference between not using drugs and being in recovery. Being in recovery has given me myself, and that's something I've never had. It's given me a love for life, a love for people, a love for everything around me, and I don't ever want to lose that. So I do fear going back out. But other than that, there's not a lot of fear. I know if I show up and just do the right thing every day, then and keep myself in reverence and in resonance with God, then the right things are going to keep happening. And I accept that conflicts are going to arise, and acceptance, like these principles will change your life, and they will build your life. Guys, getting a little bit long. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so very much for being here with me today. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. Happy 4th of July.